Welcome to the Open Era podcast. I am Devang and I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Simon Bushell. Bush, we've made it to award season, the Open Era Golden Rackets 2023. You're in your finest tuxedo, looking good.
Yeah, for this so wonderful occasion, I chose to wear a black hoodie in the style of a tuxedo, just to really fit in with the...
People are doing that, right? People are doing that blazer with the hoodie look. It's actually sickening.
I'm pretty sure that was a big thing in the early 2000s as well, so we really have come full circle.
Vaguely remember Lance Bass movie. One of the members of NSYNC, when he was briefly a movie star, he donned that look. So it's emblazoned in my mind. But yeah, it's back. I see Tom Brady doing it a lot. It's bad. And I don't like it a lot, but let's not dwell on that, Simon. Let's get to the Golden Rackets, our picks for some categories that actually exist, like Player of the Year and Newcomer of the Year, and then some we made up, like Best Bullshit, Open Era Award for Service to Tennis, the Biggest Story of the Year, the Best Beef, and of course, it wouldn't be Open Era without an outlandish prediction for next year. So Simon, let's start with Best Bullshit, which Josh asked on the Discord, what does that mean? And I think that's a good question. I think it can mean anything we really want it to, but I guess this is almost maybe the stupidest thing, Simon, or the biggest, one of the biggest problems with the sport, maybe.
Yeah, let's go with that. I feel like we can really Rorschach mask this and do anything we want to with it. Is that how it works? You can see whatever you want to? I don't know. Sorry, everyone.
Sure.
So let's just go with whatever we want for Best Bullshit. I can see the nominations in front of us, and by nominations I mean what you picked, which I think is quite funny. Kind of spoils the surprise, really.
This is for my memory because it's terrible, so that's why I did that. But yeah, I think, does that mean I'm going first? Then I'm not sure. What do you?
Please go ahead, enlighten us. The winner of the Golden Racket for Best Bullshit from you.
Mine is scheduling, and it's not so much the idea of like matches ending at 4 a.m., which is very dumb, especially on weekdays for people who have jobs like in New York at the US Open and basically at all the tournaments. And even with the French Open curfew, we've had a few situations that are best described as baffling. So I think those are a problem. But I thought something that Francis Tiafoe said this year was really interesting, and it was about the higher seeds getting a distinct advantage at the slams based on the scheduling and the fact that he said, you have Novak getting ready to play the third round the next day, and there are guys still on their first one, so they're going to play every day, but Novak is guaranteed to play because he has roofs. This goes on the American upon it. The way the matches are scheduled makes it nearly impossible for other players to win tournaments. He wants a level playing field, but does not think it is possible. Yeah, I think that's a really great point. And it does feel like the court, pardon the pun, is tilted a bit in the favor of the top players in the game. And we see it with how the tournaments are scheduled and the perks they're given, in some sense, even getting to dictate whether they play in the day or the night. So I think that's a great point, and it's a problem.
Does it want to win this? Does the scheduling want to win this award? Probably not, right? I assume the ATP and WTA would not be happy for winning this prestigious award.
It's not a good thing. No, I would say that.
It's funny that you went down that route because my initial pick for this was going to be just an overall higher amount of tournaments, like jam-packed in general, and a lack of a downtime period. So something along the same lines as scheduling, but in the end, I went with something that's quite funny because I went with the lack of WTA tournaments for Best Bullshit.
And that is scheduling. Technically, that's scheduling. So I think I've won. If this is now a game.
I feel like we can just sort of throw them all in the same category, can't we? Of the fact that it's been a hodgepodge of nonsense all year and it doesn't seem to be getting any better as we head into the 2024 season.
No, it doesn't. And I mean, we talked last week about the Super Tour and whether or not that gets off the ground. And even if it does, I imagine, Simon, it would take a bit to actually get it really going. And whatever the hell that means for everyone else would take a bit to implement. So probably not for next season. And the next season's schedule is locked in already. So we're going to see a lot of the same issues that I think we saw in 2023, but there will be some more tournaments maybe in places that have been neglected, and some places are losing tournaments or losing their status altogether, like our favorites in Cluj and in Ostrava. So yeah, I'm with you there. Okay. ATP Player of the Year. We're all going to pick Novak here, right, Bush? Like, this is not...
Correct.
So maybe we'll do a non-Novak edition of the ATP Player of the Year. Let's
do that. Is your pick the same as mine?
I don't think so. I don't think it is.
So I'm picking Carlos Alcaraz. Is that a shocking pick, considering how out of favor he seems to be in the last little while? Does it seem that ridiculous to pick?
After Boris Becker destroyed him, as they say. I need the thumbnail of Becker yelling at Alcaraz, despondent on a chair. No, it's not. And also, I nearly forgot that Carlos missed the Australian Open. So he didn't get the opportunity, all 4 opportunities either at the Slam. So I think it's hilarious what can happen with a bit of a downturn for someone who's had such an excellent year. And you listed off what he's done last episode, but I get why you're going with him.
Yeah. I think there's a bunch of recency bias that always happens in award season, and never more so than in the tennis calendar. Carlos Alcaraz had an incredible season. He's still really young. He won a Grand Slam, beat Novak Djokovic in the final at Wimbledon, broke a bunch of records in the process. It's a great season. He's very, very deserving of this award, in my opinion.
Yeah, and as you slam recency bias, I'm about to be afflicted by it because I'm picking Jannik Sinner. Bush, get out of here with Wimbledon. That happened 40 years ago, basically, and doesn't matter at all. No, I'm going Jannik Sinner. I think the ATP Finals, losing it was weirdly big, and I think the Davis Cup, I'm weighting it extremely significantly just because of the way he did it. So I think this is more picking Sinner in the sense that I think it is going to pave the way for a very big 2024. So even though we all know it's Novak, and this allows me to take liberties by selecting Sinner, even though it is likely Alcaraz who should be number 2 here, Bush, I like the way this is lining up for next year.
Yeah, I did nearly pick Danny Medvedev for this award as well. An incredible season.
He could have, he's in there. He's in there, yeah, definitely. WTA Player of the Year, Bush. Consensus, I believe.
Consensus is that we have both picked Iga Swiatek as the Player of the Year. It probably feels a little surprising, does this not? I was very, very close to picking Sabalenka for this award as well, but...
I wanted to, and then I was like, well, it's a bit bullshit to pick Sabalenka, I think. I mean, the WTA Finals, fiasco that it was, Iga really, she ended it with an exclamation mark. And I think that if I'm going to wait what's centered at the end of the season, I have to do that with Iga as well.
She had the best season. I think, I don't know, but anything you want in terms of statistics and all that sort of thing. She was still the best woman in the world for my money. Her peaks were the highest, all those sort of things. I think she's deserving of this award. I do think it's considerably closer than it has been in the past year or so. This one was very, very close, but in general, I still think she was the best player this year.
Get Coco Gauff in the conversation. Rybakina had a really good year. There was a few players you could have selected, but Sabalenka also taking over number 1, Bush.
Put it this way, if you picked Gauff or Sabalenka, I wouldn't remotely have batted an eyelid at it. I would have found that completely acceptable. But I do think it's funny how we both picked the world number 1.
Exactly. Okay. ATP Newcomer of the Year. I'm not sure your pick qualifies, but I'll hear you out here.
Well, are we just going with, it's another one of those where we have to define what we mean by these picks?
I checked the official list and I don't think Ben Shelton qualifies, but I understand what you're saying. Like, he is a great pick, but based on their wacky parameters, which I guess means he could not have been in the top 100 last year.
Yeah, only because he was playing college tennis until he was like 33 years old, wasn't he? Or whatever they do in North America.
Wow. The Brandon Whedon diss, that's uncalled for. But I think it's the rule officially is that the player had to have broken into the top 100 this year.
There are rules, damn it.
Ben Shelton, though, is an excellent pick. Ben Shelton, who shocked everyone by being fun for a bit, and then everyone was disgusted that Novak gave him a taste of his own bro-y medicine. I think what I've learned is that I'm getting old because Novak is now appealing to me when he's shouting down these children.
Alrighty. Maybe we should have selected that for its own category of biggest surprises.
Just, yeah.
You joining the Novak hive.
Becoming Novak, yeah. Becoming a Novak person, yeah. I'm joking, everyone. I'm joking. Okay. So you're going with Ben Shelton.
Well, now that you've told me the actual rules, then I don't think I can, right? Obviously, the answer is Arthur Feast, is it not?
Craig Tiley will come after you. Craig Tiley will come after you if you don't adhere to the rules.
I think Feast has to win this award based upon the parameters that you outlined here.
He does. We're recording this during the Next Gen finals in Jeddah, which look sparsely attended. Just from my vantage point, was from the sporadic crowd shots that they have been showing. But Feast looked great. Sorry, I butchered his name last week. But I think the outlook is great. And I mean, the history of French tennis, we know it well. They have produced a lot of good players, but few great ones recently. And I think we can include Gail and Joe Willie in that group. And he looked up to them growing up. So he's about style. He considers an important part of tennis. And I think that's something that we love as fans. So really excited to see what he can do. Yeah.
Sparsely attended is probably how I would define that, but we'll come on shortly to some of the things that are going on in the ATP Next Gen finals. Let's move on swiftly to the WTA. Newcomer of the year, same awards parameters here, Dev. Who was your pick?
It's got to be Andreeva, right? Probably based on the jump she's made and the fact that she's 16.
She was only 16 years old.
Didn't lose it. I don't think she lost an opening match at any tournament in 2023. And she had 4 wins over top 20 people. Had Maya, Magda. I bet you she's super left leaning, but I'll stop calling her Magda. And Barbara Krejcikova twice. 36-9, Bush. For a 16-year-old, that's pretty dang good.
She's the runaway winner of this award by a considerable margin. This one's not even close, I don't think. I will throw in just a quick mention here for Brenda Fruhvirtova, who is also 16.
She was only 16 years old.
And I believe won 9 titles at ITF level this year, which is astonishing. I don't care how old you are, winning 9 times at any level of tennis is pretty ridiculous. I think it might have been 10. It was in that region anyway. So an amazing year. Again, watch out for her next season. I don't think she's not going to have quite the ascent that Mira Andreeva does. I think she's still got a lot of work to do in terms of developing the body and getting a bit stronger and all the things that come. But in general, her and her sister are both really good. But Brenda Fruhvirtova is going to be a very, very good player for a very long time, Dev.
Czechia keeps coming with the tennis stars. Great shout. Okay, next up, the Open Era Award for Services to Tennis. Self-explanatory. People that we think have bettered the game. Simply put, Simon.
Do you want to go first? Because I have a bit lined up that I'd like to do.
Yeah, I'll go. Okay, all right. So I'm going Danny Medvedev. Great season. But I think I speak for everyone when I say the way he consistently demoed Alexander Zverev this year brought joy to my heart, including the beef in Monte Carlo, in which Zverev chirped him afterwards and Medvedev handled it as he does with flair and class. He also gave fans the finger in Paris-Bercy, which I love it. And then he also defended himself by saying he was checking his nails. Nothing more than that.
Fantastic.
Why would I do that to this beautiful crowd in Paris-Bercy? Like, clearly lying. And it's just great. We love you, Daniil Medvedev. And I almost played Rainbow Six this year because of him. So that's an influence.
There you go. Influencer marketing works, everyone. Pay all of your money to 16-year-olds. Okay, the Open Era Award for Services to Tennis goes to the following players: Yuri Lehecka, Taylor Fritz, Michael Momoa, Marc-Andre Hussler, Talon, Griekspoor, Andy Murray, Andrei Rublev, Danny Medvedev, Taro Daniel, Chris O'Connell, Carlos Alcaraz, Nicholas Jarry, Casper Ruud, Alexander Bublik, Matteo Berrettini, Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, Novak Djokovic, Roman Safiullin, Jordan Thompson, and Stefanos Tsitsipas. Congratulations to the winners. Do you have any idea why I've picked these players, Dev?
They all have beaten Alexander Zverev.
Correct. They all knocked Alexander Zverev out of tournaments this season. Congratulations.
Incredible. The Open era biggest story.
I think out of all the stories that happened this year, it has to be the Super Tour, does it not? A story which is still rapidly unfolding underneath our feet as we move forward, potentially completely transforming the landscape of tennis if it goes through the way that it's been proposed from all of those voices which John Wertheim is hearing in his head, Randy Orton-esque.
Chatter.
I've heard, Dev, just in my text messages, that tennis is really cool. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, the Super Tour.
Boo.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting with the backdrop of how bad the WTA finals thing ended and how pissed off everyone was. Yeah, it's all lining up for this, and with that curveball or that 180 they made to have it hosted in Mexico on short notice, putting on my tinfoil hat, Simon. And this is not even a conspiracy. They didn't want to go to Czechia because it would have locked them in for too many years, and they clearly want to go to Saudi as soon as possible. So it's all lining up to click in very soon, and I don't think it'll be next year. But yeah, big changes for the whole dang sport potentially. And I don't think, like, I'm not against a reset as this has been called. Like, I think it's desperately needed. And how many times have we talked about it, Simon? But the way this reset seems to be lining up. Yeah, we'll see.
I think it's going to happen at some point in 2024, isn't it? I think we're going to be utterly shocked by the state of the tour at the end of next season.
It'll be like Bane walks out to center court at RG during the Olympics and just blows up the center court. This is the new... Okay. Best beef, Simon.
I chose the Ukrainian players against the field. Yeah. Specifically highlighting Marta Kostyuk and Elena Svitolina. I think beef seems to, perhaps downplay the seriousness of what happened and what continued to happen in terms of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But it was interesting to see the entirety of the tennis world's monocles drop during the course of this season as various handshakes were left out to dry. Dev, it's a shitty situation that continues to occur in that part of the world. But this story, I think, made the rounds for both the right and the wrong reasons during the course of the season. Yeah.
I do love how you went serious with this one, and I definitely took a different tone. So
we're balanced to each other.
I think you said it well, but we are yin and yang. I went with Andy Murray versus Alex de Minaur, which I don't think they hate each other by any means, but Andy Murray played ADM 6 times this year and lost all 6 times. That's gotta suck. And had Andy Murray contemplating a lot of things at the end of the year, you have to imagine, Simon. But we talked about ADM being like weaponless a bit last week, and I thought we were being a bit harsh. But if you're going 0-6 against Mr. Weaponless, what does that say about you?
Just for the record, I think Alex de Minaur ended inside of the top 20 this year. So, Mr. Weaponless.
Mr. Weaponless. Mr. Weaponless. Just that's scathing. Don't clip this. Please don't clip this.
It's kind of how we spoke about Casper
Ruud
Ruud in the final of a Grand Slam. Ugh, what a jobber. Terrible.
I mean, I watched that. I watched that final, and I stand by it. Okay. Finally, the Open Era outlandish prediction for 2024 produced some gems, such as Ash Barty is coming back, which she still is. She still will, damn it. And other ones like Serena Williams is coming back. Simon said this year, I believe, which, yeah. So
did I? Do you want to revise that?
I thought you did. Or did you say next year?
I don't think I said this at all, but whatever. Let's move on.
Wow. Okay.
Do you want to start with your outlandish prediction for 2024?
Yeah. Okay. So mine is that the men's Olympic gold medalist will be outside the top 20. I think we will get a bit of a rando winning RG. Not a rando in the sense that someone way off the map, but we will get a surprise shock winner Whereas the slams will be chalk. We'll get the favorites winning there. That's pretty good.
I think so. The winner of the Olympics will be Daniel Altmaier. There you go.
In a just world, damn it. In a just world. I got Diego Schwartzman on a flyer. If you can probably bet on this, but Diego Schwartzman at the Olympics has to be worth something.
I think so. I think it's far more likely that it goes chalk on the women's side as well. We'll see. We'll see.
Exactly. I mean, who knows what Rafa is, right? What is 2024 Rafa?
Was that going to be another outlandish prediction? Rafa Nadal wins all 4 Grand Slams. It was not, by the way.
What?
Not a chance. It does not make it. So I had 2 outlandish predictions. One of them was that, and they're both along the same sort of grouping. The first one was either the ATP or the WTA will end up in a lawsuit against the Grand Slams. So there's going to be a legal challenge in terms of the Super Tour.
Yeah. That
was one of them. And then the second one was either the ATP, the WTA, or the ITF will declare for bankruptcy. So all in the same grouping.
These are far too sensible. Yeah, these are far too sensible to be outlandish. I'm like, yeah, I can see both of these things happening for sure. Love it. Okay. Good stuff, sir.
Golden Rackets.
I'm going to throw my blazer. Yeah, I'm going to throw my blazer in the garbage now. Because on parting shots, it's casual only. Is it? No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it is. But when we come back on parting shots, we will update you on something new we're planning, Open Era Gold. Plus, we talk about the Next Gen Finals and much more coming up next on Open Era.
Welcome back to the Open Era podcast. Dev, it's time for parting shots. And I wanted to kick off this parting shots with an update on the show and introduce Open Era Gold. When I sent you a message during the course of the week, what did you think Open Era Gold was?
Thought it was a bold foray into the OnlyFans market was a potential thought.
Yeah, so Open Era is getting slightly more racy, everyone. That's what we're going for over the course of the next season. Now we're going to take an opportunity to look back at some of our favorite matches during the course of the 2023 season, and we'll replay those throughout the course of the 2024 season. We'll start over this holiday period with a look back at our favorite matches that occurred during the course of this calendar year, Dev. I'm looking forward to it, getting back to some old traditional recordings that we've done and looking back at some of the greatest matches that have happened during this season.
Indeed. It should be fun. If you listened to Open Air for a while, especially during the pandemic, we did quite a few look backs, and this will be in that style, which is really fun. So Simon will pick 2 matches. I'll pick 2 matches. Looking forward to it, sir. It's always fun to also relive matches that you have definitely forgotten, or for not forgotten maybe the outcome, but have forgotten key moments, or get to relive some huge, significant events that happened in the tennis world and shaped the season. So it should be quite fun, sir.
It's also impressive how much we've managed to forget during the course of the season and how much tennis occurs.
Yeah.
Really, really quite staggering.
Well, when I was making my picks, and it was kind of factoring into what I was doing for my award picks as well. A boatload of stuff, and I shudder to think the hours like clocked. I saw a lot of Spotify Wrapped lists push from my friends as they released those. But imagine they had Tennis Wrapped, and you could see how many hours you logged watching certain players. Because I bet you there's some disturbing results in there for people that you wouldn't expect.
Good Lord. I really do not want to see those stats ever. I'd be more than thankful to never see those. Let's talk about the ATP Next Gen Finals. That is not a segue in any capacity, but for the purposes
looking at you, Dominic Stricker. Looking at you,
Dominic Stricker. In service of the fact that we have to talk about this, we are a tennis podcast, and it's the last real action of the season. Dev, let's start with a question. Who won this tournament last year?
Nakashima.
Brandon Nakashima did win this tournament. Congratulations.
Oh.
Where is he now?
Well, that's the thing. Is it a curse? Is it bad to win? The other people in it, though, is interesting. So Lorenzo Musetti was there. Jack Draper was there. Jack Draper made a pseudo leap before injuries took their toll. Yuri Lehecka kind of made a bit of I wouldn't call it a leap, a small jump, maybe you could say. So out of that crew, no one really planted themselves firmly in that I'm here conversation. I think Lorenzo Musetti maybe. So I guess the question is, of the people who are here, who do you think has the chance to do that? And it's clearly Arthur Fies. And I think from watching him at this tournament, I'll admit I haven't watched a load. I watched some yesterday. Saw him against Stricker. Quite good. And I love how weird this all is with the court and stuff, but it didn't feel like much of an atmosphere. But I thought he looked, Simon, like the most polished player I had seen of this group. So, well, I don't read anything into this, and maybe it's a curse if he wins it, but he looks ready to be maybe in that Musetti conversation where he's not winning big titles necessarily yet, but he's firmly ready and he's there. And I mean, Alcaraz won this event 2 years ago, right? So it's not like you're doomed.
Yeah, I remember us talking about this time last year and looking back at the history of this tournament and seeing all of the participants in it. And the realization that they haven't really got this wrong so far. The players that they have picked or who have participated in this tournament have gone on to have success. Maybe not like high level success. Obviously, one or two of them have done exceptionally well. I mean, even more than that, you could make the case that a lot of them have done very, very good things. But also at the same time, every single player that appears here is, I think, made the top 100 at least, and maybe even the top 50. Like, it's been a really quite impressive grouping of players that has come out of this. But yeah, past winners, Young Chung, Stefanos Tsitsipas, Yannick Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, and Brandon Nakashima. I think whoever joins that list can be pretty proud to be there, Dev.
I was looking back at the very first one. Danny Medvedev barely got in, or he was the last official qualifier. So fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Who knows who will emerge from this crop? David Nalbandian, Simon, someone we used to like on this pod, but
yeah, not a great look for David Nalbandian. So this article came out in La Nation during the course of the week. He, I believe, he installed a camera in his side of his girlfriend or partner's apartment and was almost, I believe, stalking her. So like it's really, really like problematic. Another example of some fairly shitty male behavior that comes out of the sport of tennis. I took away from this that he doesn't seem like a particularly nice person, Dev.
No, not at all. Not at all. That run in Madrid, we can no longer recall it. No, it's awful. It's an awful story, and does not seem like a good person by this report at all. It's unfortunate.
Let's transition from bad men into potentially good women. I don't know. It's a shitty segue, but
let's see how it plays out.
Still plenty of runway. You never know. Either way, quote Iga Swiatek during the course of the week. Women are judged more harshly, as if we had no control over our emotions at all. During the ATP finals, we saw that men also react differently on court. Sometimes they are aggressive, sometimes they also cry. However, in men's tennis, it is accepted and interpreted as a passion that leads to success. Meanwhile, I read again this season that I sometimes lose control over my emotions, that Swiatek is over, that his career is over. I cannot understand such opinions. Such people are very guided by gender stereotypes. I mean, I think obviously this is I agree with this statement. There's lots to be said about it. And I do think tennis is a really good example of that, just given how individualistic it is as a sport and how much sort of norms are placed on it and how much of a microscope it gets put under as well, just given the fact that it does have a male and female tour, that those biases tend to come into play. But she has had some interesting things to say over the course of the year, and I would throw this quote in there as well, because I thought it was interesting to see her continued advocation that we can kind of get rid of these bullshit stereotypes that exist once and for all.
Yeah, and once again, like, she nailed it and totally right. I mean, it's interesting. Like, I can only imagine like the DMs people get, like these athletes get. We see a bunch of them, like especially we've seen it a lot with like related to betting discourse and like people who are angry at that they lost a bet. lashing out in the DMs of these players. But my God, like if you take an accidental wander into your DMs, if you're someone like Iga Swiatek, I can't imagine the stuff she's seen this year. So yeah, it's awful. But once again, I think she's extremely eloquent, and she hit the nail on the head. There's a double standard for sure.
Okay, let's transition to the WTA Ventures, which is a thing, a team within inside of the WTA, apparently quote to drive growth of women's tennis.
Sounds reputable to me.
What are they hiring these people to do in the wake of what is about to happen to the tour? What are they going to be in charge of?
I mean, it sounds like they're getting some venture capital people into this to come up with some ideas, quote unquote. The sense like this is part of the strategic collab with CVC Capital Partners, who's injected all this money into the WTA Tour, who desperately needs it. But I don't know, man. This is like, we're about to get a whole lot of corporate brand speak coming hot and heavy here. Is what I can only guess.
The new addition to the WTA Ventures leadership team will include Russell Cleave.
I thought that said
who I
Russell Crowe.
First was Russell Crowe.
It's like, whoa, it's a huge
wow, what a get. Good job, WTA. Either way, let's see what happens next year. A bunch of these people are going to be extremely upset they made the jump, considering that they might be only responsible for a couple of 500s and a few 250s. Might be a remarkable situation they find themselves in.
Well, I mean, they brought in people from places that's like they brought in someone from the World Surf League, which is interesting. Like, it seems like this is a marketing driven thing, right? Like, and there's people from the NFL coming in as well. So like I do like the idea of bringing in people from other sports to see what they can add and make different. But yeah, we'll see. Sounds like they're like, all right, we got to go heavier into the marketing and try some new things, which does sound promising. But I do worry it will lead to a bunch more brand speak, PowerPoint-esque kind of stuff.
Oh, I miss Dex.
Dex.
I really do. I miss Dex so much.
The tennis bakery, Bush. Bagels and breadsticks.
Tennis bakery. Yeah. Bagels and breadsticks. If I was to ask you the question, who won the most sets on both the male and female tour, so men and women's tour in 2023, 6-love or 6-1? Let's start with the men. Would you have gotten the result had I not showed it to you?
No. Demon. Shocked that the Demon is at tied with number 1.
25?
Yeah.
Sinner and de Minaur get 25, 6-love and 6-1. Why do you think de Minaur's won 25 sets? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Unless is he perfectly on that bubble where he's, top 30, so he's playing against players either in round 1 that are like lucky losers or qualifiers, or maybe he's like the 33rd seed or something. So he's like too good to be a seed. And then as a result gets to play a bunch of players that he's much better than.
I also feel like he's not the right person to play if you're having an off day. Like, if you're...
Mm-hmm.
He's just heartbreakingly consistent and will like beat you into submission, and you will start going for shots you don't have, and it gets to 6-1 quickly kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, that's very interesting. Musetti is a bit surprising as well. I think he's got 20. So yeah, fast starters as well. I feel like some of these guys, get off into really good situations off the hop. Whether or not they could hold that is a whole different story.
If you were to bet your entire savings on wanting to on a player, like you had to bet it all on a player winning a set 6-love, I don't think I'd put it on Alex de Minaur.
No. And can I tell the player this is happening, or do they not know that this is mistakes? Because I feel like I would trust Novak probably, and Medvedev maybe. I'm not sure. On the women's side, I would have guessed Iga, but the number is insane.
It's astonishing, isn't it? It's absolutely astonishing. We're tap dancing around the story here, which is that the highest on the men's side was 25 and number 2 was 26. You add them together and it doesn't add up to number 1. Iga Swiatek at 54. Yeah. It's ridiculous, Steph.
Shouts to JPEG at 2 though. That she had a really solid year. I know the discourse around her now is that there is going to be a hurdle she cannot clear, but I think that's pretty impressive that she had 26.
I think it's impressive as well, but I'm still marveled at that 54 number. How does she win that many sets 11-1? It's talk about a front runner and talk about someone who just overwhelms the players that are in front of her. Ridiculous, Devang. Absolutely ridiculous.
What a year for the Shiontek Bakery serving bagels and breadsticks consistently. Okay, Simon, 2 challenges remaining. What do you got this week, sir?
I had to kind of think long and hard about it. I went to go and see the Hunger Games prequel and really enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was very, very good. I encourage everyone to go and see it. I had no idea what was happening inside of the first 20 minutes of that film. Like, literally no idea. There's a bunch of characters and I just was so confused.
Do they do a previously on sizzle reel kind of thing at the beginning or no?
Nah, because it's a prequel, right? So it's not a
yeah.
direct sequel to the events. It follows the exploits of a young Snow before he became... What is his title? I don't know. I haven't read those books in a long time. Supreme Emperor or something? I think he's just president, isn't it? Either way, it's a good film. I enjoyed it. And by the contrast of a lot of other films that are out there that are being critically and culturally panned, looking at you, Napoleon, I really enjoyed it.
Nice. I have not seen or read any of the books, so I'm much like Harry Potter. I feel ignorant about what's going on, but I just nod my head as these conversations take place around me.
That's an interesting point to make, Dev, and I feel like I should make it on the record to say that the Hunger Games are 10 times the books of Harry Potter. 20 times.
The fact that I collated them, the fact that I uttered them in the same breath got to you, didn't it? It bothers you.
Ugh. Unbelievable, Dev. Disgrace.
I don't really have... My thing was more like the... I don't know if you saw that story in Sports Illustrated or about Sports Illustrated Bush about the AI written articles that they were found to have had on their site all over the place. But I mean, you could probably say this every few weeks, but it does feel like we're really driving really fast into a reckoning when it comes to how writers or how journalists or how media outlets are going to function when these companies feel comfortable with where AI is at and what that means, quote unquote, at, because it feels like we're not really stopping and we're barreling into this, and it feels grim.
I mean, it does. I don't know if I said it on the podcast that I largely believe that all that stuff is bullshit, is that it's just a lot of like CEO hot air, especially in the tech industry.
NFT stuff, yeah.
I mean, go down any road you want, NFT, blockchain, a metaverse, like it's just one after the other of just bollocks. Driverless cars. How many more pieces of shit do you want to see come out of these companies that get hyped to all hell? I think what this does allow to happen is it basically gives runway to a lot of companies that didn't want to pay journalists anyway to just like go to the lowest possible standard and then say that's good enough. That's kind of what my perspective is on this. Because like all of this stuff, sorry, you got me on my soapbox now. Like, all of this stuff is because you know, like it's always the promise, right? Like whenever you hear these fucking tech CEOs stand up, it's like, oh, you know, it's not what's happening now. It's what's coming in the future. That's what you got to be prepared for. And I always I heard this thing a long time ago, which was like just because we went to the moon does not mean that we can go to the sun. And I always think about that anytime a tech CEO speaks, says anything, where it's like, judge the thing for what it fucking currently is. And what it is a bunch of shitty, badly written bollocks that is like a cheap imitation of an actual writer. It's just that now it's considered acceptable to use it because it seems like a hyped thing.
If you want to infuriate yourself, go look at the board for that company who owns SI now and see some of the people and their old ventures or where they've came from and the companies they've torpedoed along the way. Be the other media companies. So I hope you're right, and I think you make a good point there. We'll see where this goes, but we will leave it there. As always, we are on patreon.com/open era. Join us there, get the show ad free, get it early on Sundays, plus join the Discord where we're chatting tennis all the time. You can also leave your picks for your award winners of the Golden Rackets in the Discord. We're also on twitter.com or X, if you call it that, Open Era Pod, tweeting, Xing sometimes. And I think that's it for producer Dylan on the ones and twos. And for Simon, thank you so much for listening to Open Era. Stay tuned for Open Era Gold episodes coming to you in the next few weeks. And thank you, as always, for listening. We'll talk to you soon.
She was only 16 years old.